Won't surrender faith as I can fire that never burst to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping and the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now you are a conqueror.
They can take my heart, they can take my breath when they pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder. Magic static, call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. I am glad you are here. It feels like we have not been here forever. I know we were not here this Tuesday. Unfortunately, a couple things happened that I was not able to be here. But we are here today, and we are going to pick right up where we left off. In fact, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We have an agenda that is very long. So I know we normally try to keep this to an hour. Probably will not happen tonight. It will probably be a little longer. But for those of you who are new to the program, welcome. And I hope you learned something here tonight. I am Joe Vollano. I'm your host, your guiding light through all the craziness that's going on in this world today. And I got to tell you, this world is crazy. Now, if you notice, I started the show off with the Canadian national anthem. And I started that way because the Canadians are acting more American than Americans are. And for the first time, I'm going to say it, I wish the people of America had the balls of the people of Canada right now, especially those truck drivers. We're going to get into it. But, of course, this show always works best when you guys are participating. And if you want to call in, 203-679-9610, or you can email us straighttalkjv@gmail.com. And of course, if you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, you can always jump on the message board, and I see it is off and running. And Nancy's already beating me to the punch on one of the things that are going to be coming on today. There are some changes in the city of Meriden, and we're going to go through them. But, of course, first and foremost, like I said when I started the show, we're going to talk about Canada, because every American should be thanking Canadian truck drivers for everything that's happening here today. And it is not a coincidence that now mass restrictions are now being lifted, or be given, as they say, optional. They were never optional before, and they wouldn't have been optional now as of March the 1st if it wasn't for what's going on in Canada. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And most people think, oh, well, they're finally following the science, which we've known this science has been saying that masks do nothing to begin with. So that this whole thing was just, again, it was all about control. And Canada took it a little bit too far. And they still are. The Canadian government is still taking it too far, because now they are arresting people. And I believe at the last count, it was 191 people were arrested. Actually, and only 103 of them were charged. Charged for standing up against their own government. For unreasonable requests, or actually mandates, of not only mass restrictions, but trucker restrictions as far as what they can and cannot do. So, kudos to Canada. Like I said, without Canada, we wouldn't be talking about the mask coming off in the public school system come March 1st. Come March 1st, the city of Meriden has made it optional for students to wear masks. And this all started, East Haven was, again, my hometown of East Haven, which I still love down there, was the first Board of Ed to vote to take the masks off. So kudos to my hometown of East Haven. I'm proud of what you did. I'm proud of this. I'm proud. And I will praise you when you're right. I will praise you when you're right. This Board of Ed made the right decision. They made the right decision to make masks optional come March 1st. Have we excused them yet? Have we excused them yet for all the other nonsense they're doing and all their lack of transparency? No. But we'll get into that later on, because I did get an email. I did get an email from a listener. I believe she's called in before, asking about public comment at Board of Ed. And again, the Board of Ed believes they have their own rules, and they do whatever they want. They don't like transparency over there for some reason. They think they're above everything and everyone. And I don't understand why. And again, I know how it happened. It happened because we never hold them accountable for anything, myself included. I have always said multiple time, that it is upon us to make sure that we hold people accountable. It's on us to make sure we hold them. And again, I said it for years. I don't really care what Board of Ed does. I care more about the city council, And all this time, you know, I'm not the only one that says it, but the Board of Ed understands this. That's how most people think. So they fly under the radar doing whatever they want, which is how we get new ball fields at the cost of $1.9 million, which should never be put through Board of Ed. Use that money for the children in the schools. But again, I will give the Board of Ed credit for at least the mask coming off March 1st. I know my son is extremely happy. Both of them are. They're extremely happy about what's going on. No, in this city, people are not held accountable. And when you try to hold them accountable, do you know what they do? They just create new positions. So I'm glad you actually brought that up, because we talked about the new assessments, property assessments that are out there. And we talked about where the mill rate's going to be, because if the mill rate does not change, you're talking about a massive tax increase for every citizen in the city of Meriden. For every citizen. And all of these free programs and all this government money and all this nonsense that we've been talking about here for about a year now. Come March will be a year since we've been on the air. All this free money, $8 trillion. $8 trillion since 2020 has been spent on this pandemic. Free money just given away to everybody. And no one thinking of the consequences that are going to come with that. Been saying it here for a year. I've been saying it for even longer than that. The chickens are going to come home to roost. And I got stories in the stack of stuff here that's going to bring that rate to reality. And it's going to hurt every homeowner, every renter. It's going to hit everybody the same. But these are the people you elected to do this, knowing they were going to do this. But everybody loves free stuff. Everybody loves free stuff until you have to pay for it. And then nobody loves it anymore. Now everyone's like, oh my God, what are we doing? What are we going to do now? They're raising our taxes. Look at inflation. It's absolutely crazy. So right now is the start of the budget season. And we talked about where they were going to where they were going to cut, where they were going to cut, and where are they going to increase spending. And I said we're going to start to learn this come March. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're learning that a little bit earlier this year. Because like I said, they're going to cut this mill rate with the average house. First of all, the average house is going up about 36%. Average. That's a huge increase of your value of your property. Now, we also talked about how they have to cut the mill rate to balance that off. And if you were to balance that off, taking the 36% average, to balance that off is somewhere around the 26 mill rate. Now, we all know it's not going to get there, because I said this not even a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, that the city council will do just enough. They will cut just enough so that we're not standing on the front steps with pitchforks. That's what they're going to do. your taxes are going up. And they're going to sit there and try to sell you the BS that, no, we lowered your mill rate. What are you complaining about? Ladies and gentlemen, this is now, if you don't attend city council meetings, you should. You should. Because this is coming up, item number 12 on the agenda for Monday's meeting. And it is from LaRue Graham, Councilman Graham, and Councilwoman Cortez, Finance Committee. And in this is the start of what we have to look forward to. So these pages here, it's 19 pages long. You go ahead and read it. I'm gonna read the main parts for you because this is stuff you need to know going into this budget season. They have already set the table for massive spending increases. And the first one is for $82,192 for a distribution system chief operator for the water department. We have been doing pretty fine over there at the water department. I think they do a hell of a job. So they're looking to spend $82,200 for a new water distribution system chief operator when they already have one. This one, I'm going to say that one for last because that's my favorite. I'm going to hold that one for last. A laborer for the golf course at the cost of $58,300 per year. Now, again, this isn't COVID money. This is not COVID money. They're asking that these positions be paid through the general fund for every year going forward. Or until they deem it necessary to get rid of them, which they won't. So all these positions are full-time positions that are going forward. So $58,300 for a new worker over at the golf course. Which, listen, Tom does an amazing job over there at the golf course. If you see that golf course, Tom does an amazing job. And he uses the part-time help. Because remember, all these full-time positions, you might listen to me say $82,192. When you hear me say that, really, I'm really saying about $130,000 when you include everything that the city has to pay between health care and matching funds for 401ks and all that kind of stuff. So when I say $82,192, I really mean about $130,000. When I say $58,300, we're really talking somewhere around $75,000. This one blows my mind. A capital projects manager. The golf course has made money in the last 2 years. Actually, they've been doing very well. Now that Mike Lupkus is out of there and the bookkeeping is actually accurate, the golf course is making good money over there. And kudos to Tom and Bob for doing that. So, yes, the golf course is doing extremely well. We've had longer seasons, which is good. But, again, there's been such shady bookkeeping over the last decade and a half that I've been aware of because I was on the golf commission. And there has been some weird accounting schemes with the bond paybacks from Lumpkus. Since Guy Scaife got there, all that was cleaned up. And with Kevin there, it seems to be doing pretty well. And you can see the golf course is now in the black. They are not in the red. So the golf course is doing a tremendous job. And again, kudos to Bob and Tom over there for doing an amazing job. But this next one is a capital projects manager, $68,785. Now, our procurement, the person doing our procurement is the one that should be managing these things. And then once they become to fruition, is that of the department head to take care of. They can't save the money. The golf course, I don't want to get into the weeds of how everything works. But any money that is made extra from the golf course gets thrown back into the general fund. So the golf course can't keep it for themselves. It's like a nonprofit. Every time there's excess of money, it goes into the general fund of the city, and vice versa. If there's a deficit, the city picks it up and the golf course pays it back. It's almost like a loan. So that's the way it works in an enterprise fund. To do at a high level, that's a high level explanation of how it works. But so they can't just keep the money to do other things. They still have to go through all the other processes if they want to do a bond or if they want to do some kind of improvements for the golf course, which all go through the golf commission first and then go to City Hall. But like I said, we can get into that on when it gets to their turn to come before the city council. We'll get into the depths, the weeds of the different departments. But this one is the capital projects manager. It's the department heads who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year are the ones that should be managing this. You don't need someone else to do it for you. This is not a huge city. You do not have that many capital projects going in your department that you can't keep track of them yourself. Deputy tax assessor, $79,830. Remember, all these are coming up for a vote on Monday. And again, this is just the beginning. We're not even through all of them yet. They got more people they want to bring on. You're looking at almost $400,000 or $500,000 already, just off the bat here. A deputy tax assessor at almost $80,000. So again, you're talking about $110,000 that's going to cost the taxpayers of the city of Meriden. And they're not even doing anything. The deputy tax assessor, in the tax assessor's office now, they don't do the revaluations. An outside company does it. So what they need a deputy for is beyond me. Melinda could do it herself. She survived doing it before by herself. These are all new positions. These are all brand new positions being funded through the general fund. So this is not coming from any rescue funds. This is all just pure new employment. An HVAC technician, cost of $80,000 a year. Now, if anyone knows where our biggest problems of HVAC are the schools. Now, I don't know why we need an HVAC technician since a lot of the schools are getting upgraded ones due to the rescue funds from the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed is using money in their rescue funds to upgrade a lot of these. Well, I don't know who they have to fill them. I'm sure they're going to be pals of the city manager and stuff, but I have no idea. That's up to HR. But to have an HVAC technician. So let's ask this question. Where are the biggest problems in the school system for HVAC? Does anyone know? I'll give you a hint. It's a brand new school. It's the only school that had a PLA. Does anyone know what school that is? It is the only school that had a PLA, and it was just renovated. That is the building that has the worst HVAC system. And does anyone know why that school, said school, has a horrible HVAC system? Maloney High School, correct, is the worst. And does anyone know why? Because before a PLA was assigned to that school was supposed to get a state-of-the-art HVAC system. Now, when Brian Daniels, whose dad happens to be the president of a union, turned around and said, no. we had to have a PLA for this project. And it was voted on by the city council to institute a PLA for the Maloney High School project. When that happened, they had to go back to the drawing board to redo the contract and to rebid it out. They had to rebid the whole Maloney School project to add a PLA. Now, the cost of the total project couldn't change. It was what it was. So that means they had to cut in the materials and the kind of materials they used. So that state-of-the-art HVAC system was no longer state-of-the-art. It was a basic, generic HVAC system, which we already knew was not capable of holding up to the stresses of dealing with a school that size. But the new PLA brought the labor part of the project up $18 million. $18 million. So the first bid to the second bid was a difference of $18 million on the labor side alone, because now they had to use all union labor via the PLA. So when the labor cost side went up, the material side had to go down. Because again, the total project number could not change. So that's why, if you remember back in 2015, I said it. We purchased a Ferrari, we got a Pinto when it came to Maloney High School because of the PLA. So now the school was spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is one thing Guy Scaife did when he first got here. He said, well, what the hell are we doing here? We're paying emergency fees to bring these outside technicians in. Why? Why? And he had already hired an HVAC person to work on that school. So why do we need another one? What are they going to be used for? Most of the systems on the buildings that the city owns has new HVAC systems. We shouldn't need any more. So this one's ridiculous. And it's going to cost the city, the taxpayers, over $100,000 for it. So now we should move on. Because there's another position being hired. Another laborer for the Parks Department. Again, full-time position for $43,635. For another park. And this is my favorite one. This is my favorite. For all you guys watching on the cam. This happens to be my favorite. If everyone can see that right there. What does that say? We need an assistant city manager. Are you friggin' kidding me? We need an assistant city manager at the cost of $120,000 to $140,000, which means about $200,000. What the hell does a city manager need an assistant for? That's what your department heads are for. That's what your department heads are for. Are you kidding me? I would love to bring Scaife in. That would be hilarious. That would make me so happy. But you know that's never going to happen. So, $120,000 to $140,000 for an assistant city manager. Apparently nothing. Apparently to answer phones, Sue. That's all they do. Each department head who makes on average $140,000, they are your assistant city managers because they run every single department of this city. And they report directly to the city manager. I don't know of any that have an assistant city manager there, Craig. I have no idea. I know one thing. The city of Meriden certainly the hell doesn't need one. We certainly don't need one. This is absolutely bonkers to me. And again, this all comes out to just under $680,000. So we're already looking at a tax increase. We're already looking at a tax increase. And we haven't even started yet. We haven't even started the process yet, ladies and gentlemen. And they're already, I told you, they are going to go on a spending spree here. A spending spree. It is like Christmas to them. They see these high evaluations and they see that they're going to have all these millions of dollars extra to come into the city and they're going to friggin' spend it. They're going to spend it. And they're going to raise taxes. They're going to send taxes through the roof, which leads to our next friggin' story on housing. Housing in the city of Meriden. Housing in general. Housing in general. On how nobody could afford to rent houses or rent apartments in the city anymore. And this is a travesty that this is happening. We've been talking about it for months, almost a year, that this was going to happen. It's predictable. You can't spend trillions of dollars and not expect inflation to go rampant. Anyone with a half a brain can realize that. You don't need an economic degree. You don't need a degree in economics for this. This is basic math. Basic math. This is basic math. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just a start. This is just a start. They can't cancel me. I think that's what pisses them off the most, Eric. They know they can't cancel me because I don't answer to anybody. I answer to you. I answer to the people of this city. That's it. That's the only one I have a loyalty. It's the only one I have an allegiance to. My only allegiance is to the citizen of this city, this state, and this country. Nobody tells me what I can and cannot do, what I can or cannot say. I have the ultimate freedom to do what I want here. And I tell you, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling. Because I don't need them. I don't need them at all. So look at that. And the one time I do not have my email actually up and running right now. So thank you. All right, it's open. I don't have any email sitting there. Let me just move this over here, just in case. But that's the great thing about sitting in this seat, is that I answer to nobody other than you. And if you guys don't like me, you guys can just change the channel. If you don't want to know the truth, change the channel. If you want to keep your head in the sand, change the channel. If you want to be informed and learn something, tune in here. Because this is the kind of stuff that they love slipping through. I cancellation. Yeah, I laughed at it. But that's what you got, $680,000 worth of new positions, and we haven't even started the budget process yet. Because when it comes election time, they're going to tell you, oh, but we lowered your mill rate. You should be praising us. We lowered your mill rate while sending your taxes through the fucking roof. That's what they're doing. Which leads us right into our next story. So while they're doing this kind of nonsense, they're putting out this kind of nonsense. And this is a report from an event that happened that they do every couple of years about a housing study. And I could get into I could get into the details of it, but we'd be here all night. So I'm gonna break down. I'm gonna throw this up here on the screen because I want to make sure you guys all see this. If you're looking at this is the type of housing within the 4 towns that are near us. I don't know why they didn't do Berlin and Southern. Those are the ones I would have rather have seen. But if you look at where Meriden ranks, as far as the amount of affordable housing in the city, we're at 16.51% of affordable housing in the city of Meriden compared to others around our area. Now, Hamden has about the same population as far as housing as the city of Meriden, and they're only at 9. They're just under 9%. But the city of Meriden and Sonia Jelks are wonderful, wonderful majority leader who I just absolutely love. I just wish she was mayor. I wish she was just queen and we could just bow down to her because she's so smart and so wonderful and she's so wise and knowledgeable on what's going on. She's full of crap. And we're going to get into her stupid comments as we get into this story. So, I'm gonna read how this thing started. A strong seller's market, housing market, increased investor activity, and the end of eviction moratoriums are putting the squeeze on low and mid-income renters, financiers in the city and surrounding towns, according to an affordable housing report and housing advocates. So basically, they're saying, because all the freebies are gone, and now that they could evict you from your property for not paying your rent, these people now can't find affordable housing anywhere. Not even just in the city, but anywhere. Now, one, the people that were getting Section 8, living in these places, were getting free money. They were getting extra money to pay their rents. If anyone remembers correctly, the problem was they were pocketing that money and they weren't paying their rent because they knew that their landlords could not evict them. Let's be honest. This is straight talk. This is straight talk. We leave the BS at the door. We speak truth. These people they're talking about were getting free money, extra money, throughout this entire pandemic to pay their rent. And they decided to tell their landlords, F you, we're keeping it because you can't evict us anyways. And the ones that suffered the most were the landlords. Most of them that went into foreclosures. Which leads into the second part of this report. That investors, outside investors, are buying up these properties at a record pace. At a record pace. And while renters are going up in the city, home ownership is going down because those that can afford to leave are doing so. Let me say that again. Renters are going up. Home ownership in the city is going down because those that can afford to leave are leaving. And do you really blame them? Like I said, come May, my house will probably be on the market If this continues, and city council decides that this is only the beginning, $680,000, just the beginning, and they raise another $2-3 million, which again is average 2%. I think they told me 2.36% increase every year just on contractual stuff. Now, does anyone know how much our annual city budget is? All in, about $215 million, almost $220 million. 2% is about $2.6 million. Now, remember, add in $680,000 because that's already been done. So now you're up over $3 million already. A $3 million tax increase. And we haven't even started yet. We haven't even started. I predict by the time we're done here in this budget process, you will see an increase of spending in this city budget of an excess of $5 million. Mark my words. Put it down. February 20th, 2022. Joe Vollano predicts that the city budget will see an increase of $5 million plus. And ladies and gentlemen, tell me where I've been wrong. We have not been wrong yet on this program. Every prediction, the great Rush Limbaugh used to have an outside auditor keep track of all of his predictions and say what is his percentage of being right. And he was right 99.8% of the time. I'm batting 1,000 right now. I am batting 1,000. And from what I hear, my prediction about Kevin Scarpati running for state rep, I'm about to hit a friggin' grand slam with that one. Grand slam. Grand slam with that. I'm glad you brought that up, Sue. I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to talk about it because it's important on the conversation we're having. We had probably about 4 years ago, we used to have a tax cap for car taxes in the city of Meriden. Anyone remember that? Anyone remember what it used to be capped at? 29 mils, 29.25 mils. So, let me take a drink here because let me explain what happened to this. And this is your great, again, this kind of stuff is going to be important for your state races this year. For your state races this year, this is going to be an extremely, extremely important topic for you. Okay. If we all remember back, I believe it was 2017, Daniel Malloy, they were having issues. They said, okay, we can't give the cities and towns all that money we used to give them. But what we can do for you is we can lift the cap of what you charge for taxes on cars and personal property. And it used to be at 29.25, I believe is what the cap was. And they said you could raise it up to what your current mill rate is. And of course, the city of Meriden said, oh, wonderful. And they did just that. The city of Meriden went from the 29.25 up to, I believe at that time, it was at 36 or 37 mils. Maybe give or take a mil or so. And it increased the residential property taxes in the city of Meriden. It just raised everything. And that's how the cities were able to make up for the lack of funding for for the state not giving the money. Now, what's going on now is that the governor is saying, again, and I'll give it to the governor. Listen, this governor is a liberal, but he knows finance. And he's a pretty smart guy when it comes to finance. And he understands that you need to do tax cuts. And one of the proposals he's making is to bring that rate back down. Now, most people will ask, well, why is he doing that? Why would he do that? Who does it benefit? Who does that benefit from bringing it down from? So in the case of Meriden, it would be 40 mils. It would bring it down to whatever is agreed upon. Let's just say it goes down to 30 mils. Now the city would obviously lose all that revenue. That 10 mil difference, they would lose. So of course the city would have to raise more property taxes. So again, if that passes, it's going to hurt the homeowners of this city. It's going to hurt all homeowners in large cities. And remember, it's only large cities, because this does not affect Cheshire, Southington, all these other towns. And do you know why? Because their mill rate's already that low. Their mill rate's already that low. Even if they were to match what their current residential property rate is, it's the same. This kills those in the city that own property. It doesn't hurt those who rent, other than their rent's going to go up. This hurts every homeowner. Every homeowner. Which again is why you're seeing, like we just talked about, rentals going up, homeownership going down. This is going to just increase that problem, because it just doesn't make it financially beneficial to own property. It is absolutely crazy that's what's going on. But renters, and I'm glad to see that renters are paying attention to this, because I'm on Facebook an awful lot, and we commented about this a couple weeks ago. For the first time that I've seen in this city, I see renters on Facebook freaking out about tax assessments on the houses that they live in, because they know that their taxes, that their rents are going to go up. They have no choice but to go up. And as this report says, if they can't afford a down payment because they were evicted from their last place, who the hell is going to give them one now? And that's going to lead to bigger problems. It's absolutely crazy. I'm trying to get to this next page here. So the average rent about 2 years ago was $750. Now they're at $900 to $1,200 for a one bedroom. And I love how it says it's tough. People are struggling. Groceries, utilities went up. We look at what else that might need. Of course, everything went up. And you could thank the people that they voted for. But I got to tell you, probably 90% of the people they're talking about here voted for these exact same people that did it to them. The same people they're bitching about are the same people that created the problem. And this is what happens when uninformed people try to vote. Now, again, I'm all for everybody voting. But you must be an informed voter. If you're not an informed voter, stay home. Do us all a favor. Do us all a favor. Just stay home. Like I said, out of state investors have been picking up multifamily homes at a frantic pace. Because these are the ones that are going foreclosure. Because again, these same people they're talking about who are now crying about rent weren't paying their rents when the government was giving them extra money to do so. And now are crying that they don't have a down payment for a new place that's going to cost them even more. I don't feel sorry for you. Not for a second. It's one of the reasons why I don't like renting properties. The landlord gets screwed, especially in cities. And they're crying that nobody's building multifamily houses anymore. Why would they? Why would they? It is absolutely crazy. And of course, like I said, our great majority leader, Sonia Jelk, she attended this presentation that was done. And I'm going to quote her. There are some very obvious opportunities here. Not just new construction, but rehabilitation. There are a few abandoned properties that could be used for other uses. Be part of our housing plan has included a better transit system. Let me repeat that again. Our bus system hasn't been be part of our housing plan has to include a better transit system. Haven't for the last 4 years, 5 years, Democrats in this city have been praising how great our transit system is? We have a brand new train station, the bus depot there, so wonderful. Our bus system hasn't been already as robust as it could be because nobody uses it. It's not. No one's using it. Why is Connecticut Transit? Why is Middletown Transit going to sit there and bring buses here when they're not being used? It's crazy. And then I love it. It goes on. I don't think we have a ton of senior housing outside of a nursing home. We also need supportive housing to aid disabled people whose parents are aging. We tried that. If anyone remembers, they wanted to put a 55 and older complex over there on B Street. And Democrats blocked it every way they possibly could. And that was back in 2014? 2014. We've been trying to do it for years. And every step of the way, Democrats on the city council blocked it. And now they're complaining about it? We don't have enough. Thanks to who? You're complaining about things your own party did. Redlining against low-income families and minorities continues today in Connecticut through zoning against multiple family housing in support for one-bedroom units or senior housing. Concerns of straining schools and public safety is an argument against families. That's an interesting one. Concerns over straining schools and public services is an argument against families. No, it's not an argument against families. It has nothing to do with an argument against families. We just can't freaking afford it. You just can't bring in all these families that have kids that aren't paying taxes to support the system you're using. Again, it's just basic economics. It's just basic math. is basic. No one's raging against families. We have 16.51% of affordable housing. Most of those are families that pay no taxes to the city, that use a lot of city services. Let's just be, again, straight talk here. Straight talk. Low income housing uses more services than anyone else. Public safety, fire, public works, and Board of Ed. That is a fact. It is a fact. So excuse us when we sit there and look at this. Let's look at this again. When we have 16.51%, and look what everybody else has. We are doing our fair share as homeowners, as taxpayers of this city. We are doing well above our fair share. So no, we do not rage against families in the city of Meriden. We are not redlining anybody. We just can't friggin' afford it. That's the bottom line. We can't afford it. But again, Sonia Jost doesn't care. They're nothing but votes to her. They're just nothing but votes. That's why Democrats love affordable housing so much. They're votes. Because like I said, the same people that are bitching about it are the ones voting these idiots in. It's just ridiculous. And again, if they allow more affordable housing, you are going to ask trades, which brings us right into our next topic. I know we were going to talk about this last week, the Tremont Project. Now, again, I probably have a different view of the Tremont Project than most people have. So, I have a different view on it. I absolutely, this is my favorite thing in the whole entire world, cherry Dr. Pepper, in case anyone knew. I love cherry Dr. Pepper. Hard to find, though, around here anymore. I think Walmart's like the only one that carries it. They carry very few. But, absolutely love it. The Tremont Project. So I'm for this project. With stipulations. With stipulations on it. And you can sit there and say people got strong-armed all day long. That's just development. It is what it is. They have deadlines just like everybody else. And they have obligations to get to their investors. But the project itself, I think, would be good for the neighborhood. One, it's an aging neighborhood. I think it needs a lot of help. And again, I think this isn't a time. No, there's no tax abatements for 20. I'm all for you on that, Sue. This is going to be state money anyways because they're going to do 20% affordable housing. Now, I'm all for that on this stipulation. They have it in writing that they will not ask the city council to up that 20% for at least 10 years. Because we all know what happens. And they did it over at 24 Colony. Nobody was buying those apartments. Nobody was renting them. All they could get in there was a Section 8. And they went back to City Hall and said, well, we can't rent these things. We need to up the affordable housing. And they did. And the council did just that. This can't happen on the Tremont Project. Because that will be devastating not only to the citizens in that neighborhood, but the school system in general. Because those 3 and 4 bedrooms that are being proposed there, you know those are going to be Section 8. Anyone who does not believe that is living in a fantasy world. Those biggest apartments there are the ones they're hoping to fill through Section 8 because they are going to pump up those rates so high because it's free money from the government. And again, they all do that. They all do that. Every developer does that because they're looking to maximize profits. They're looking to maximize profits. Now, is parking going to be an issue? I seriously think it is. I think that's something that really does need to be looked at. But for the project itself, one, the city, that neighborhood is aged. Let's not BS each other. That neighborhood has a lot of absentee landlords. This is an opportunity right now for the city to not only look at this building, but look at the neighborhood as a whole. And if they want to rehabilitate a building, rehabilitate the entire neighborhood. Bring your code enforcers in there and hold these absentee landlords responsible for what they did. Hold these absentee landlords to fix up these properties. Listen, this Tremont project can increase the value of those homes around it greatly. And if you get these absentee landlords to put some money and work into their properties, you could do wonderful things for that neighborhood. So while I understand the frustration about the 20%, we need to take a step back and look at the big picture. Not just this, we can't micromanage it. Look at the macro. And look what it could do for the whole area. Because they can't use it. What are they going to take? What are they going to use it? What is Care Better going to buy it for? And remember, half that property is already being used now. There's businesses in there now. But that's neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there. We have an opportunity as a city to make progress on a neighborhood. If we were talking downtown, I understand everyone's frustration. And I'd be in complete agreement with you. But we're talking about a residential neighborhood that is deteriorating. That we have an opportunity as a city to finally rehabilitate with one big project to be the cornerstone of it. So the city itself now has to seize on this opportunity. To make sure that we get these other houses in order. They don't need a traffic study. It's not a state road. People, listen, I understand where people are coming from. But again, at the same time, we need to know what we're talking about and what requirements are needed at certain times. Unless it's on a state road, no traffic study is needed. Unless the city itself asks for one, which, why would they? Why would they ask them to do it? It's not required. The city could do one all they want. The developer does not need to do one. Why would they spend almost 30 to 50 grand to do a traffic study when it's not required? That's just bad business. Trinity Management is the developer out of Boston. So again, I understand people are fixated. I understand people are fixated on the affordable housing. But you can't be just one-sided. You can't be short-sighted. Look at the bigger picture for the neighborhood. And for the neighborhood, this is a good deal. It'd be a great deal if the city actually got off their ass and code enforcement went out there and did their job. Because I tell you what, people like Craig Hansen, Sean McDonald, Heidi Boyd, and Rick Master, who are on the Neighborhood Rehabilitation Board, which is the Blight Commission for the city of Meriden. They've put suggestions out there to the mayor and to the city council multiple times to go look at these areas. To go look at these areas. And the city has ignored it every time. This is a golden opportunity. It's a golden opportunity for this city to turn a neighborhood around. A neighborhood. The question is now, will the city seize the opportunity, and will the citizens demand they seize the opportunity? Or will we just bitch and complain and be no? Or will we just be the people that sit here and say, no, 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 no? There's times for no, and there's times to work together for the common good of the neighborhoods. And sometimes we just got to put our egos aside. Sometimes we have to put our personal beefs aside for the betterment of the city, the betterment of the neighborhood. We can't always just say no. That's not our job to say no. Our job is to say yes, but. And I said the same thing when we talked. I said the same thing when we talked about the project for the zoning requirements for the new manufacturer over there in the old Saab building. It's not the city's responsibility to say, no, we don't want it here. We want you to put it over there. That's not your place. Your job is to simply say, sure, we love to work with. This is how the city should work. We would love the opportunity to bring your business here to the city of Meriden, to the location of your choosing. But we have a couple concerns. ... What can we do as a city to work with you to solve these issues? That's how the city should work. Not turn around and say, no, put your building over here. Who the hell are you? Are you paying for it? No. Then shut up. Sometimes the city officials are a little too big for their britches. That's on both sides. Democrats and Republicans. Democrats and Republicans. They have one, Craig. They just don't show up. Every single commission and board has a council liaison to it. They just don't show up because they don't care. But I think people need to realize how a city should work compared to how it does work. This city is a business, and we are in business against other towns and cities. Yeah, but they don't do anything, though. They can walk all they want. If they don't enforce anything, then it's no good. You're just walking. You're getting exercise. You're getting steps in. That's the difference between saying things and doing things. This city, and I think some people in this city, have a real misperception of how a city should work. This city is a business. It's incorporated. It's a corporation. That's what this city is. And we are in competition against every town and city, 169 of them in this state. And this state is in competition with 50 others. People need to look at it that way, and politicians and city leaders need to act as if it's that way. But we don't. Because, again, they don't care. The problem is this city, and I've said this since 2014, this city looks very short term. Its leadership looks very short term. What's going to get me to the next election? What's going to get me to the next election? That's basically how politicians think. But this project, and I'm sorry, we're going to go over tonight, so I hope you guys aren't bored here, sitting here listening, because we'll probably be here till about 8:30. I still got some stuff on here. We'll try to break it up. But we're at a crossroads where we have opportunities to do things. We need to come together to get them done for the betterment of the city, betterment of the neighborhoods. And we only do that by communication. We need to communicate. I've learned this over the last couple of weeks, really the last week. I've learned how communication is so vitally important. It's not a matter of getting pushed around. See, again, okay, I'm going to say this as politely as I can. I don't give a rat's you-know-what about what Wallingford's doing, about what Berlin's doing, about what anyone else is doing. I don't care. I care about what Merredin's doing. I care about what Merredin's doing. Is what is being proposed good for Merredin or for that area? Again, if we were talking about downtown and affordable housing, I'm on board with you. Because I take each project on face value of what it is. I take it for face value of what it is. This project is great for this neighborhood. It's a great project for the neighborhood. I don't care whether we had 2%, 16% of affordable housing. This project is a great start for that neighborhood. Again, it's only on if we capitalize fully on this project, and that's up to the city. That's up to the city. And that's up to us to make sure the city is doing that. And if we have issues with this project, email the developer. Email them. I heard I've never met them, so I don't know. I hear they're very well received to communications. Communication is the only way things get fixed. Good communication. Like I said, I've learned that the hard way this week. That lack of communication could lead to horrific things. could lead to missed opportunities. And it's definitely miscommunication. We need to be willing to talk with each other to express our satisfaction or our dissatisfaction, to talk about praising people and about questioning people. Well, you were talking to the planning commission. So send them an email and get answers. Have your council people reach out to them, get answers. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. Questions are good. Questions are terrific. And you should always ask them. But to sit there and say this project is bad, now you're just being disingenuous. Because it's not. It's not. When you look at the whole picture, there's no way you can make that statement. At all. At all. And that's if you're just being honest with yourself. So I'm sure we'll talk about more as we go along over the next couple of months, because a lot more will be coming out. But I do want to move on to the next thing, because, again, we still do have a couple more spots here. This is, again, on the agenda for Monday. Appointments to the Human Rights, Racial Equality, and Social Justice Committee. So this is a collaboration. This was a combination of different commissions and stuff brought together to do this one here. Now, the Planning Commission did not get strong-armed by anybody. They didn't get strong-armed by anybody. The Planning Commission could do nothing about it. It met all the requirements. And again, this is, I hate to stay on this friggin' topic. I hate to stay on this topic. The Planning Commission had no obligation to do anything other than what they did. They didn't get strong-armed. You just didn't agree with it. And that's okay. You could disagree. It's all right. Don't say that they got strong-armed. The developer said they had a date for their financing. They had to get that done. Okay. What's the Planning Commission have to do with that? The Planning Commission got the plans. The plans and everything else met the requirements for that area. It met the requirement. It met the requirement for everything that it needed. He could have done that. He could have done that. But then he would have lost the project. Again, the public is involved. The public is involved. You were there. So please, you were there for the Planning Commission. Both of you were. They came out to the neighborhood association. They did all the steps required. They did everything they were required. You just don't agree with it, and that's fine. It's fine you don't agree with it. Every single citizen still right now has a dude. They can sit there and question it and ask questions. Go ahead and keep doing so. But as far as the Planning Commission is concerned, all the ducks were in a row. There's no reason to table it. The process was followed. If people don't want to follow the process, or people think that they can just change the process anytime they want, no, that's not how things work. Just because you disagree with it. So again, I mean, that's the last we're going to talk about it for now, because again, what's done is done. And again, everyone could just agree to disagree on how this project may help or not help, or whether you're for or against it. And that's fine. But the whole area was only 2 people. So they just picked those 2 people that were notified? Come on. Let's be realistic here. Let's not try to start blowing smoke up each other's you-know-whats. Okay. So back to what we were just talking about. This is, again, and I think this is something that most people need to make sure that they are fully aware, because this is going to be a pretty strong commission. And I think this is one that Sonia Jelks, Cortez, and Luru Graham, this is going to be one that they really, really want to take advantage of. And this is, again, the Human Rights, Racial Equality, and Social Justice Committee, which, first of all, I think the title of the committee is absolute bullshit to begin with. It is. This should not be in city government. This commission should not be part of city government. But I look at who's on it. Rudin Ray, Vanessa Hutchins, Jeff Frazier, Daniel Roman, Mr. Mohammed, I'm not going to try to pronounce his first name, John Colbert. Some of the biggest Democrats, biggest far-left liberals you will ever find in this city is on this list. And then they have one Republican, Isabel. She's the only Republican on it so far. Listen, I'm going to give Republicans a little advice here. You better get strong, vocal Republicans on this commission, or I guarantee you, again, let's mark the date again, 2022, you do not get strong, vocal Republicans on this commission, they will be using this commission for all their social justice crap. Whether it's the CRB, whether it's police accountability training, or anything you want. It is a race car commission. That's probably the best way to put it. Which is why you need strong Republicans that could articulate why this is such a bad idea on what they're going to try to do. Because this is going to be used to bash anyone who disagrees with the social justice crap that's been coming out. Now, granted, listen, I've been doing it. They call me a racist every day. I don't really care because we all know the truth. But they will use this as a political tool and a political weapon against everyone that disagrees with them. And the crazies that are on this commission, I look at this list and I think, this is as far left as you could go. And I love Isabel, but she's not the most outspoken person. Republicans, wake up. Wake up. Sean, while you're still there, get strong people on this ASAP. And whoever takes over in March as the Republican chair, make sure you take care of this. This is going to be the biggest. Next to the CRB, this will be the biggest commission, most important commission in the entire city. This will rival zoning and planning. I crap you not. That's how important this commission is. So Republicans, get your asses in gear and get strong vocal Republicans on this commission ASAP before they even meet for the first time. Or you will regret it. And it will literally, it will destroy this city. As if they're not trying to destroy it and divide us as it is. All this commission is meant to do is to divide people. I would love Art Petrocelli on this. That's hilarious. But this will do nothing but divide. We'll put a divide between people. But that's what they want. That's what social justice is all about. Let's just be honest. This racial equality, human rights, social justice, it's all about division. It's about putting people in boxes, labeling them by the color of their skin. That's what it's all about. You know, we're in the middle of Black History Month. We're talking about Martin Luther King. This would be everything he's against. He'd be against all this. He wants everyone to be created equal. And even though they say racial equality in this, they don't mean that. They've proven that. Hell, Sonya's Jokes has already told us that we're a bunch of racists and we don't agree. They have no. They don't care about racial equality. Do you know why? Because there's no money in that. There's no money in racial equality. There's no money in social justice. So they may speak it. And the NAACP, they're the biggest joke of all. Biggest joke of all. Black Lives Matter. Biggest joke of all. Who are you freaking kidding? Let's be honest with each other. I've said it many a times. Black Lives Matter does not care about black lives. They could care less. They care about bringing in that money. They care about extorting these companies that are giving them millions of dollars. That's all they care about. It's always about the money. It's all about the money. They're bringing in these millions while you have poor little black kids getting killed by stray bullets in Chicago while sitting in front of their TV. Black Lives Matter don't care. NAACP don't give a shit. Who are you kidding? And this just so you know, Black Lives Matter, NAACP, you have an open invitation to come on this show anytime you want. I'll even bring the show to you so you can speak your piece. But you know it's all nonsense. You care about nothing but the money. A bunch of race hustlers. That's all they are. Who rake in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Because if they don't give it to them, they mark them as racist. That's what they do. It's their business. And that's what it is. It's a race hustle. And it's all about money. They don't care about black lives at all. Now, the churches is a different, now when you look at, you want to really change communities, bring it back to the churches. Bring it back to the churches. Get them more involved. You want to donate money? Donate it to the churches in these neighborhoods. Because they are the ones that care. They are the ones living in those neighborhoods. You care about black lives? Overwhelm their neighborhoods with police so they feel safe to come out of their houses. But, again, people like Sonia Jelks, NAACP, and Black Lives Matter, they don't care about black lives. Not for a second. I call them on their bullshit every time. They could care less. All they care about is the money. And that is straight talk. So, we missed a show on Tuesday, and I apologize for that. Again, sometimes I don't talk about personal things very much on these shows, but I do talk about communication, and we did bring it up because it is a key factor to really everything that's going on. And if you look at any of the projects any of the things that we talked about tonight, it all comes down to communication and how vitally it is important communication is to well-being of not only a city but our lives as individuals. And I'll be the first to admit that when it comes to, most people think I'm a pretty good communicator. Especially when I'm here behind a microphone once or twice a week, or if I'm on social media or whatever, I'm talking in front of people. Most people think I'm a good communicator on things, but in reality is, I guess I'm not on the things that it matters. And I realized that over the last week or so, that it is important that not only in our professional lives, but in our personal lives, that we make sure that good communication with those we love and those we care about happens. And I just want to make a reminder to people that, listen, we're not always right. I'm not always right. I know I listen, I come on the show, I speak facts, but it doesn't mean I'm always right. I want you guys to go and look at this stuff yourself and make up your own minds. Because while I sit here and communicate this stuff to you, which again is factual, everybody's opinion is different. And we've seen that here tonight. Some of us just disagree on certain things. We look at it from a different aspect, a different perception. And that's good. But what we can't lose sight of is that we have to communicate with each other, whether we agree or disagree. And even though I disagree with a lot of people that are in this city, especially those in leadership, I'm still willing to talk to them. Listen, again, it's a tough thing to learn. And sometimes it's tough for everyone to really take a look at themselves and have to admit that you're flawed. And there's nothing wrong with that. It takes a lot of self-evaluation. It takes a lot of putting egos aside to know that. But I've learned that the hard way this week, which is partially why I missed the show on Tuesday. And I do apologize because I know most people look forward to the show, and I try to make sure I'm here to present to you guys an entertaining show that's not only entertaining but informative, and hopefully used to get you guys to be more active in the neighborhoods, in your city, your neighborhoods, state, and even in federal stuff. And while I always try to be delightful, listen, I have my flaws just like everybody else. And sometimes mine get in the way of other things that I'm doing in my personal life. But again, I just wanted to apologize for not being here on Tuesday. And but I needed to take some time to self-reflect on some stuff that was going on, plus other things. So I just wanted to apologize again and just, again, take this opportunity to make sure that you're communicating with the people you love. Yeah, well, we missed the show because of the holiday. It was Super Bowl, and then it was a holiday. It was Valentine's Day, so we were doing one on Tuesday. But I missed it. But I just want to make sure you take this opportunity to communicate with those that you love. exactly what you're feeling and exactly what you're doing. Because miscommunication is the worst thing that could possibly happen. Yeah, you should recharge yourself. But listen, we all and I guess the most important thing is we all make mistakes in life. And I know that I'm well, listen, I still have a responsibility for being out here. You know, I do this show, and it is a responsibility I take very seriously of being here. So when I do miss a show, I take that to heart. So, and when I miss shows based on other things that are inside my control, that bothers me even more. Because I do love being here. I do love talking to you guys, and I love reading your comments. But at the same time, I do obviously have priorities that I believe are more important than obviously a show. And that is the love I have for other people, and especially certain people in my life. And I apologize to them also for my miscommunication and for my lack of communication on expressing how I feel or see things. So now that I got that out of the way, before I shed a tear here on camera, which you probably very rarely say, I think you've seen me once. But no, I love every one of you. I really do. And again, if we have a miscommunication or we have issues, I always expect you guys to bring it here. And I always expect for you guys to send me an email or send me a text or even just give me a call. We are all human. We all do make mistakes. We're all flawed. God made us that way for a reason. And it is our job to realize when we make mistakes and to make amends for it the best way we can. So I was doing that this week. I think it's important that we understand that we are flawed. And again, as long as you put the ego aside, and I know most people think I do have a pretty big ego, which I don't think I do, but some do, I think. Listen, again, just take care of those that you love. That's really all I can say is make sure that you're doing right on behalf of those that are most important to you. I try to do that, but again, like I said, I am flawed, and I sometimes do not express my feelings the way I should. So, again, I love each and every one of you guys. I'm glad you're here every week. I hope you guys find this show entertaining and informative, and I hope you decide to join in every week. For those of you who are new here, again, I welcome you. Make sure you come back. Make sure you share this show with as many people as you can. Because again, we talk about all these people that are bitching and complaining that voted for everything that's happening. And that's detrimental to not only our city, but to our state and to our country. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that being played all over this country. Because a lot of people voted for the government we have now, thinking that everything is going to be rosy, and now they're looking back on it and saying, what the hell did I do? What the hell did I do? But, guys, we will be here again next Sunday. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there. Like I said, I love each and every one of you guys. So be well, be kind to one another. Again, show love to each other. And, just go give an extra hug to those that you love, and cherish that relationship you guys have, and make sure you cherish it, and you got to water it. You got to water it and help it grow, and that comes by, again, good communication between one another. I love each and every one of you guys. Until next Sunday, be well, be nice. And I love each and every one of you. God bless you. And obviously, God bless this amazing country of ours. Good night, and I will see you next week.
for elevation. And the soldier won't surrender. Faith is like a fire that never burns to embers. The voice of the unheard. Love is the answer.
I gotta speak it, believe it, that's how I feel inside.
I can't sit here quiet.
You can take my heart, you can take my breath when you pry it from my cold dead chest.
This is how we rise up. Heavy as a hurricane, louder than a freight train. This is how we rise up. Heart is beating faster, feels like thunder, magic, static. Call me a fanatic. It's our world, they can never have it. This is how we rise up. It's our resistance, you can't resist us. Can you hear me? Are you listening? Sleeping in the shadows could be making history. Through the fire, on the water, used to be a slave, but now